Thanks so much. I'm joined now by Ryan Patel in Los Angeles. He's a global business executive who's worked for publicly traded companies and startups. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. Some are saying now that these tariffs may not be designed to come up with a compromise, but maybe part of a plan to just unravel the economic ties between these two countries. In fact, Scott Kennedy, who's been on this program quite a bit and pretty knowledgeable about this relationship, is quoted in the Post as saying their plan may be to not get China to cry uncle and maybe just pulling up the drawbridge. Do you think that's true?
I mean, part of it. I mean, you've seen the last few weeks how this relationship has been becoming a leverage point for the U.S. to against negotiations with the EU, with Canada and Mexico. You know, people are talking about, well, if you're doing that with China, your biggest trade partner, how are you using that leverage with other partners in itself? And I think this has kind of followed the process between China and the U.S. on tariff back and forth. It's been very clear on when the U.S. tariffs, it'll be China next, and then it'll keep going down this timeline. And so what you saw 3-4 months ago is exactly how it's played out.
And Ryan, you're in the business of growing and scaling companies. All too often we focus on the countries and these numbers, but give me the perspective of people involved in global business. How jittery are they?
They are. I mean, listen, you hear it from day in, day out. You know, people are either holding back capital or their expansion plans. And if you think about exporting companies that are in the U.S., it's a high percentage of companies that are small businesses exporting outside of that are based in the U.S. going to China. And so these are the things maybe not get hit in the news per se on those companies either shutting down or deciding to say, let's scale and hold back. And that has a detrimental effect to the economy. It's not just that they're growing, they've kind of kept it flat. And as you know, in businesses, when your comparable sales year over year don't grow, that at the end it hits your bottom line.
And some are suggesting that the U.S. president is trying to use this as an issue leading into the midterms, this kind of I'm getting tough posture. Do you think the stance will likely change after November?
You know, at this point, anyone's guess is important, but the administration needs a few wins going into this election. And obviously, one of their campaign promises has been this stance with China, and that they've from the administration's perspective, it seems like they've held that promise on staying strong versus some of their other initiatives and campaigns that they have either still working on.
Ryan, tick off what we are likely to see and what has you the most concerned. I mean, we're hearing a lot of people saying it's going to disrupt supply chains, it's going to reduce trade. You're talking about people not wanting to invest, kind of hunkering down, so to speak. What's the most concerning to you?
I think for me, it's outside of the U.S. and China, believe it or not. It's how this is going to affect the other countries in Southeast Asia region, even to the EU, and even Canada and Mexico a little bit. Because by the end of this year, if we are still in this deadlock battle, which it seems like you will be, at the end of the year, the numbers, the economic data will probably start seeing an effect on China's and U.S. economy. And once that kind of hits, even if it's a half basis point, that will have a bigger impact on other countries. Because right now we don't really see the numbers of what that number looks like at the bottom line. To me, that's what's scary, because not everyone is the U.S. and China when it comes to economic terms. Nobody can just flip a switch and turn it on like other economies.
Well, can't turn it on. I don't think you can flip the switch and turn it off easily either, can you?
No, you can't. And I think when this goes deeper and deeper in, when China comes and says, well, let's do direct negotiations or let's talk about going through WTO, I see like everyone understands the urgency that this needs to get done. I think the way it's going to get done, it will be probably unorthodox as it looks like. It won't be a straight deal negotiation coming through this.
Ryan, we've talked about businesses, we've talked about these two countries, we've talked about the global economy, but talk to me about people watching this broadcast. I mean, layoffs, undoubtedly, higher prices for items. I mean, what are going to be the spillover effects that are going to hit everybody?
Well, it's undeniably that the consumers, the citizens will be affected. I mean, you can't sugarcoat that. I think many companies will try to kind of herd the burden of the cost and not try to pass it on. But as the way this is setting up, it seems like you're in it for a little bit long haul. If it is 6 months to a year, and you're going to start to see things that are either options that are local that you can buy, or lack of options in certain industries that will obviously let you to choose either to buy it or not from international countries.
Ryan Patel joining us from Los Angeles. Thanks for your insights.